times. I can count 3.
So I did want, and I explicitly stated in our notes that if Rob was here,
Yes.
that I wanted this one.
Verbatim. Assuming Rob is there, period. This is the topic.
Yep.
I wanted to bring up adults playing video games.
Yep.
And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because Rob has very, very strong opinions about adults playing video games. So Rob, can you take this away real quick?
Sure. This is particularly those. This is my. I played my last video game in 2004.
Last night.
Okay.
For me.
So last time I played. And what I realized at the time was I was not having my energy focused where it should be, and so I think.
Where should it have been focused?
I had 2 young kids.
I understand where you're coming from. I do want you to continue though.
Sure. 2 young kids at the time, right? And I realized, wait, I just spent like 2 hours on this game and my kids were awake. And I felt this overwhelming sense of guilt.
Okay.
I wasted 2 hours I could have spent with my boys and I'm like, what am I doing, right? So, and why I always encourage, I take the extreme. I say, especially for fathers, you shouldn't play video games anymore. Because
and this is where I'm going to disagree.
yeah,
Continue with your statement.
And I hear what you're saying. And I'm think of it as a.
This is the because. What is the because?
Because it can become so addictive that you lose frame and access of time.
Yes, I can 100% agree on that because.
And I think because so many grew up with video games that they can lose 6 hours, 4 hours like that.
Agreed. Now, what I was always taught.
Yep.
When your wife's awake, when your kid's awake, this is their time.
Yes.
I'm the man of the household.
Yes.
I'm the only man in my household.
Yep.
I don't have a son. When I have a son, cool, it'll be different. I was like, look, when I wake up in the morning and no one else is awake, this is my time.
Yeah.
Now, when they're awake or I'm at work, what am I doing? I'm working.
Yep.
When I come home, I'm the man of the house.
Yep.
I'm being the husband, the dad. Now, when they go to bed, or my wife's reading her book, now it's my time.
Yep.
So you're right. It might be 8, 9, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But this is where I play video games.
Yeah. And you know what? And I think you fall, and other people fall into this too, where you can fall into a point where you're able to manage your time correctly and segment things correctly.
Correct.
And I think my fear is.
I think the majority though is your staple.
Yeah, too many people
fall into the crutch
into this, right?
So from my perspective, that sounds like essentially army-proofing marriage.
Kind of.
And I get it.
Without a doubt.
And here's the thing. This is
doubt.
coming from someone who has fallen into that pit trap and been the epitome of I'm not being the father that I need to be for my daughter at the time.
Yep.
And I was in a state of just like, I had just gotten out of the military. It was like 2017.
Yep.
I was, struggling with mental health. And it's like the only way that I could cope was to essentially escape from my reality. And the way I did that was through video games.
Yeah.
And to an extent, if you're someone who's going through something like that in that moment, like you're not where you need to be mental health wise.
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Once you get past that, assuming that you do, or like you get to a point where you learn proper coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And you learn proper time management, that's where I would then get to where I disagree, but more from the standpoint of just not having to cut it wholeheartedly unless you're the type of person who literally can't manage or like you're addicted to video games to the extent that you can't just play like 1 or 2 hours, or you can't just play whenever the kids are asleep.
Correct.
Things like that.
Yeah. And my opinion on this being is that I think it's very important that, okay, yes, you dedicate the primary amount of time to your family, but that you don't become tied into, because I feel like Rob has become tied into it, is like his statement is adults don't play video games. That was his statement to me.
Yes.
But however, I will state that I think adults should play video games. And Ash Daddy was a perfect example of this. I went out of my way to introduce him to video games that he could play, specifically Stardew Valley. The man spent tons of time on Stardew Valley. Now, he was not very mobile. right?
No.
He was
Yes.
on dialysis.
Yes.
He had severe issues and everything like that. And playing Stardew Valley helped to engage his mind, because if he wasn't sitting there playing the video game, all he would have been doing is sitting there watching cable TV and watching the umpteenth billionth time of, Ancient Aliens, right? Because, you talk about
yeah.
brain rot. There we go,
And
Ancient Aliens.
this is what
Yeah.
I want to target.
Sure.
What is the selfish thing I do for myself daily? Because
Yep.
I even push this when I counsel people, and when I talk to many people, it's like, what is the one selfish thing you do for yourself every day? Oh, well, I take a longer shower. Okay, fine. Or I work out longer. Okay, fine. That's a healthy vice.
Yep.
What is the one selfish thing you do for yourself every day?
I probably doom scroll YouTube for about 90 minutes at least.
Okay.
And no.
So this
now
is,
I will say this.
and
Yeah.
I'm not saying one's
Yeah.
better than the other,
Yep.
because Goose recently had his firstborn son.
Yep.
He has a Gotham older daughter,
Yep.
but his first son,
Yep.
because I don't know, it just
They're
matters.
different.
It's completely different. but
We could pretend they're not. It's not the same.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I was like, hey, you want to hop on the game? He was like, yes, I have an hour about this time to this time.
Yep.
And what do you do? He stuck to the hour.
Yeah.
Now
And
you're
that's great.
doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Do you doom scroll for a specific time, or you could have spent that time?
Oh, absolutely.
And it's,
Absolutely.
To
And-
me, I look at that very simply as an excuse for whatever. I
Sure.
could have
Well,
done this. I could have done this. I
And-
could have done.
But I don't just look at it like that. I don't just look at what they did. I look at what the effects of what they did had on you. How many times
Yes.
have you been doom scrolling, and by the end of that doom scroll, you're like, I don't remember anything I looked at.
Yeah,
have I
correct.
Whereas
gained?
if you would take that exact same time and you would spin it in a video game like Satisfactory, which we've played, which is where you go to an alien world.
Yep.
And you mine resources, and you build a factory, and you're trying to figure out, you're intellectually figuring out how to build this factory and build the conveyor belts to do all this different
Yep.
stuff. So you're engaging yourself as this, whereas opposed to you've essentially done the Ancient Aliens of YouTube, whereas
I
I've
was good.
doom
And
scrolled.
it does a very similar thing.
Correct.
It helps escape you from
And
where you're currently at.
I think where my message comes in is more as a cautionary tale. Okay, it's where I say don't, and in respect to say is because a lot of people don't have the self-control, to order to set their time and do these things. And I struggled with that when I was young. I mean, one of the reasons I stopped gaming was because I punched a hole through my drywall
yeah, I could see
because
that.
I was playing online poker. I was in this tournament for 12 and a half hours.
But I
was
feel
one
like
place from winning like $1,000.
all this time.